Hi, I'm Becky Davis with City TV, and welcome to Inside Santa Barbara, the city's only news magazine show. We bring you up to date on the city's most significant issues, projects, and events. Bonnet Park is one of the few city parks on the west side, but for years it was underutilized. Up next, find out about the many improvements that have been made to the park to reestablish it as a gym for area residents.
For many years, the city has been focusing on adding and enhancing park and recreation resources in the West Side neighborhood.
They are our most underserved neighborhoods in the community in terms of park and recreation resources. The only park on the west side is Bonnet Park, and it is small compared to many other neighborhoods.
The once run-down and overgrown Bonnet Park has received a 3-year-long facelift. The improvements have not only updated the park's facilities, they've also made the area more secure.
Among the things that concerned us were poor lighting, the area by the creek over here with the brush, concealing activity that could be taking place in that area, and then also a lack of use by a lot of the residents and frequent congregation of undesirable elements like gang members and other things taking place in the park that discouraged a lot of other activity that we would like to see happen.
Among the improvement projects that revitalize the park, one of the most popular for surrounding residents is the new state-of-the-art lighting installed this May.
We replaced the existing lighting, which was high-pressure sodium lighting, with new LED lighting, and those LED lights were manufactured and provided by Bego Lighting in Carpinteria.
And they make lighting at all kinds of international airports and sports arenas around the world. They do high-end stuff. And I just asked, I said, would you guys be interested in helping us out on this little neighborhood pocket park idea? And I explained the situation, and fortunately for all of us in Santa Barbara, they said yes.
LED type lighting is very, very bright. It won't diminish in its strength over time like previous generations of street lighting, and because it utilizes modern electronic technology, it can be set up to activate if we wanted to via motion sensor or during particular times of the day or night.
And also, the LED lights last 5 times longer than the high-pressure sodium light does and uses less energy, too. So it's really a great little project that does a lot of things.
And the city goes from paying about $150 a month in electricity for those 7 lights to about $1.50.
In hopes of changing the park's previous image, family-friendly picnic sites were installed.
And what it included was installing 2 very nice looking picnic tables with 2 garbage cans and a barbecue pit. The neighborhood has embraced it and loves it, and they would like to see one more if possible.
I don't practice Santeria.
Additional improvement projects include a Lakers-inspired basketball court renovation, complete with the team's purple and gold colors. Sports-themed murals can be found on the restroom walls and the handball wall on the side of the Boys and Girls Club.
Adding the murals has just added a vibrancy. The fact that we used neighborhood youth for the mural program is great, because then those kids are involved in the program for improving their neighborhood.
We're really lucky to have Bonnet Park adjacent to the Boys and Girls Club. It makes it so we have an extra place to play. We don't really have a playground area in the back of our facility, so this is our playground. It is, you know, the home away from home where the parents bring them, they come and have parties. This is the place where we enjoy our time with them.
My favorite thing about Bonnet Park is all the fun activities you can do in it, and there's a creek where you can learn new things.
I like to hang out, watch the paintings, and play the swings and just have some fun. Well, it has a big field where you could play any sport like soccer, football. I like it because you could have a picnic here. There's a big field, and it's my favorite park.
This pathway connects Bonnet Park with the Extension Park located on San Andreas Street. The trail offers visitors a taste of nature as it crosses over the fully restored Old Mission Creek.
The vision for the Upper Bonnet Park came from San Andreas Street being one of the most densely populated streets with very little green space.
West Side residents are pleased to see their visions of a family-oriented community space come to life thanks to the help of local businesses, nonprofits, and volunteers.
Most of the funding for the different projects came through donations like the United Way and the La Cumbre Foundation.
And the leverage that La Cumbre Junior High School Foundation has been with bringing those forces together, along with United Way playing a major role in solidifying, whether we're talking about Smart and Hatcher that supported the basketball court, or whether we're talking about True Radius Bending that did the poles, or whether we're talking about Sports Court that helped us with this. The other two are Rotary Club, Santa Barbara, and Southern California Gas Company. All of those are part of this collaborative that's about 7 members strong. They're starting to make an impact here at Bonnet Park.
The 3-year-long renovation goes farther than just Bonnet Park. Those involved in the process hope their efforts will enhance the quality of life for the West Side neighborhood as a whole.
The hope is that people will realize that Bonnet Park is a safe, secure place for them to come and to enjoy themselves, and then they'll subsequently utilize the park over and over again. We want this to really be a jewel of this area of the West Side, and for it to be enjoyed by all of the residents here.
The future of Bonnet Park will continue to evolve over time as more sponsors and community members join the effort to revive the West Side neighborhood.
It's a good example for how, by coming together as a community and talking about what our priorities, we find ways to maximize what we have and ways to make it happen.
To find out how you can help in any of the Parks Department efforts, call 897-1946. In July, the city's water rates changed based on a recently completed water rate study and approval by the City Council. In our next story, find out the reason behind the change and why it's beneficial to our water system. With an average rainfall of 18 inches a year, it's no surprise that our water supply is limited. Fortunately, the City of Santa Barbara has a range of water supplies and ongoing water conservation programs.
Our primary supply is the San Ynez River, and we get water from 2 sources on the San Ynez River. The Cachuma project is our biggest source, and then the Gibraltar Reservoir, which is a city project, is also another substantial source. In addition, we have groundwater and recycled water, and we rely heavily on conservation to help control demand so that we can meet our demands with our local supplies. We also have a desal plant. The desal plant is in long-term storage, and it is a drought supply. So in the event that it continues to be dry, we might have to put that back online, but we really work hard to avoid doing so because it's expensive.
In an effort to promote water conservation, provide revenue stability, and ensure customers are paying their proportionate share of costs, the city recently adopted new water rates.
In designing the rate structure, one of our key objectives was to continue to support conservation. So one of the more significant changes in the rates is that you'll see if you use a lot of water. Right now, for a family, a household, we have 3 tiers. We have a basic tier, which is supposed to meet minimum inside needs, just sort of a basic lifeline supply, and that's the least expensive of our supplies. And then there's a next tier 2, which is supposed to be sized to be enough to meet the typical outdoor and indoor needs of a family. And we've tried also to keep that relatively cost effective or affordable. What we have changed in this proposed rate structure is that that 3rd block, for what we consider a higher use of water, is significantly more expensive. So there's a bigger differential between the tier 2 and the tier 3 block. Another really important change for the rates that's going to affect fewer of our customers, but has to do with irrigation. And we actually have the technology and the tools available now to be able to identify how much water should be being used to irrigate land. And then we can set the amount of water available to those customers to match that amount that needs to be used to meet their plant needs. And so that rewards people by giving them a lower rate for using just the appropriate amount of water, but if they start using more water than what the climate and the plants should be needing, they'll pay a higher rate as well. So it's another conservation incentive.
To determine the new rates, a comprehensive water rate study was conducted that analyzed both the revenue needs of the city water system and the cost of service to provide water.
What we did is we actually followed the standard practice for the industry of looking at how much it costs us to provide different classes of customers with the service that they're getting. So we looked at single-family homes, multifamily homes, businesses, commercial, irrigation-type uses, agricultural uses, and we assigned, based on the cost of providing water service to those different types of uses, a rate calculation to each of those different uses that will help to cover the cost of providing that service. So a lot of it's driven by infrastructure, and how big the pipes are, how much water you need really is one of the big drivers in setting water rates, as is the cost of the water that we're providing to the customers.
Although a few major changes have been made, the overall water rate structure will remain largely the same.
The average water bill for residential and for commercial really won't see too big of a change as long as you're using water efficiently. You're only going to see more of an impact on your bill if you're using a large amount of water. But in general, water rates are going to be the same sort of rate structure with different tiers based on water use as is currently.
Irrigation meter water rates have been set to a monthly water budget, which will encourage efficient irrigation.
What a landscape water budget is you take the square footage of the irrigated area of the landscape, you take the types of plants and their water needs, and real-time weather data, and create a formula which comes up with a budget of water use. We have weather stations in Santa Barbara that tell us how much that water is, and then we take the square footage of landscape, the types of plants, and we can say, this is it. This is how much water your landscape should be using. So for people with dedicated irrigation meters, what we're doing now is we're setting the water rates to that. So each month, they'll be given an amount of the water budget and say, this is how much your landscape should be using, and that's what your tier 1, your first tier of water rate usage will be set at. For other people, it's a great way of managing your landscape water use, even though the water rates won't be set to that.
Watering your landscape efficiently and staying within your monthly water budget does not have to be difficult. In fact, the city has a lot of resources that can help.
We have, first of all, a really great free service where we will come out to the property and do an irrigation evaluation. Our staff will look at all the water use in the landscape. We will evaluate the type of irrigation, the sprinklers, how much water is being applied, give a recommended schedule, show you all the tools that we have. The second thing is the city has a lot of great resources on our website. We have online irrigation scheduling tools, as well as a weekly watering index where we take real-time weather data from our weather stations and put it into a percentage that you adjust your irrigation system. So you just adjust it up or down based on that weekly number that's on our website. Third, we have rebates on smart irrigation controllers. And what smart irrigation controllers do, they're your sprinkler timer that turns the watering on and off on your landscape, and they're smart. So how they're smart is that the weather data is coming into them and telling them, oh, it's foggy today, I don't need to water as much, and it automatically does it for you. There is some adjustments needed with either you or your gardener to it, but for the most part, it's going to adjust on its own as the weather changes.
Overall, the new water rates were not designed to increase costs for the average user, but rather to minimize the impact to ratepayers in the long term.
Our water supplies here are finite. They're actually less than they were 20 years ago because various things have competed to need that resource. And if we need to develop a new water supply, it will be very expensive. So being able to keep within our existing resource, even though you might see incremental increases in your bill, they would be much larger if we needed to replace one of our supplies. If we had to bring our desal plant online as a permanent supply, it would really significantly increase your bills by a lot more than what you're seeing under our proposed structure, which anticipates being able to meet our demands with our existing supplies.
We live in a semi-arid climate. We have limited water supplies. This year is a good indication of that. We have about 50% of our average rainfall. Water conservation is extremely important for us to be able to have enough water to carry us through these dry times. The city's residents and businesses have done an excellent job in saving water through the years, and the city thanks everyone for doing so much with water conservation. And now we need to continue the good work we've done and always have water conservation be in the forefront of how we use water.
Residents interested in learning how the new rates may impact their water bill can check out the city's online residential water rate calculator at santabarbaraca.gov/water. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Now that warmer weather is here, we check our sprinklers to make sure they're working right and water-wise. Turn on your sprinklers during the day to see how they're working.
Make sure there's no water running onto your driveway or sidewalk.
Redirect spray heads to keep the water in your landscaping.
Look for broken sprinklers and make repairs as needed.
Save water and money. Learn how at waterwisesb.org. Let's save together.
Cut! Just ignore the letter. Keep the passion. Right now. Action! Keep moving.
I never knew it could be like this.
Cut!
I can't work like this!
Don't let litter ruin your scene.
This municipal course is exceptional.
It's just in better shape than it's ever been before.
This is the place to be if you really want to learn how to play golf.
You get a great course for the price.
Definitely affordable.
Great values on merchandise in the pro shop.
It's a nice, friendly atmosphere. It's absolutely gorgeous.
The mouse ran.
Research shows children begin learning at birth, so it's never too early to expose your kids to the wonders of reading. The Santa Barbara Public Library has lots of fun and free programs that will help put your child on the path to literacy. For more information, call 564-5603 or visit sbplibrary.org. Remember, love to read, read to love.
Do you notice anything different about this neighborhood?
Yeah, it looks like someone actually cares about it. There's no graffiti, no litter. I don't even see a weed.
Exactly. Why isn't our neighborhood like this?
Hey guys, great to see you. Come on in.
Hey! So on the walk over, we noticed that your entire block looks really great, like really cared for. How is it that our block's only 3 streets away and it looks all run down and trashed?
Well, we joined the Looking Good Santa Barbara's Adopt a Block program. We're committed to keeping our streets clean and free of litter and graffiti.
The city provides us free supplies, including a work vest, gloves, trash bags, and a graffiti removal kit. And it's time we get to spend together, doing something good for our community.
Wow. I'm gonna sign us up.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Enjoy a taste of Santa Barbara. Experience the romance. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Welcome back. The Chromatic Gate is one of the most recognized pieces of artwork here in Santa Barbara. In our next story, we'll paint the picture of this iconic sculpture.
Have you ever noticed this glorious and colorful structure when driving or walking along Carrillo Boulevard? If you answered yes, you might know it as the Chromatic Gate, created by internationally renowned artist Herbert Bayer.
Herbert Bayer was probably the most famous internationally known artist to ever live here in Santa Barbara, and most people don't know that. I read in a book somewhere where it said if he had passed at 25, he still would have been one of the most famous artists in the world, simply because of all the work that he did. He did work not just painting and graphics, but typography, architecture, city planning. He really was, people throw around the phrase Renaissance man. He was a Renaissance man.
Bayer and his wife Joella lived in Santa Barbara from 1976 until his passing in 1985. His design of the Chromatic Gate was fabricated and installed in 1991. Paul Mills, the director of the Santa Barbara Museum of Art during that time, was a driving force in advocating for this piece of contemporary art to be placed in such a historic city.
Paul Mills decided that since Herbert was probably the most famous artist to live in Santa Barbara, that Santa Barbara should realize a piece of his. So he came to the studio, and we had a room in there that had unrealized works of art. They were drawings. They were rolled up in tubes, and he went through all of them. There were some that Joelle and I thought would go well, and this one I believe was designed in a competition for the Philadelphia City Hall. It was a plaza in front of it. I think they went with the Moreau instead of Herbert, so he rolled it up, put it in the plans, and Paul came over, found this, and went, this would be perfect. And I think he was thinking about the Chumash Indians out on, was it Anacapa Island, deciding to come over, and came over on a rainbow or dolphins or some story like that. So for Paul, it was, perfect.
Since being restored in 2000, the Chromatic Gate has become rusted and accumulated lichen due to its proximity to the ocean. However, with the help of the community, the gate is now undergoing a facelift.
Well, it was a daunting task to have to raise, in the neighborhood of $85,000. That is what we anticipated the estimate would be for the painting, plus setting aside a significant sum of money for the maintenance fund. And so the daunting task of starting to get that all with private funding began. And what we really used as a strategy was to really target, as in the original case of the Chromatic Gate, target those individuals that have a strong belief in the importance of public art and in seeing the gate restored. So I have to credit David Jacoby significantly. He was the first place we went to ask. I said, can we use your donation as a match, if you will, to attract other funding?
It is the only major international work in Santa Barbara. So it's really our duty to make sure that it's in good shape, that it's going to be restored now, repaired, painted, and brought back to its original beauty of color and chromatic beauty.
Because it's so important to maintain the integrity of the artist, restoring a famous piece of artwork does come with a few challenges.
We did have a careful examination, but when they started removing some of the paint, they noticed that some rust had creeped under the paint, so they had a lot more sanding to do than they anticipated. But pretty much it's been straightforward, and we just need a sustained period of warmth because the very special paint that we have, it's an aircraft quality paint now, which we hope will be more durable. It has to be applied at a particular temperature for a sustained period of time, no wind or low wind. So as you can see, we're lucky in Santa Barbara we have good weather, but fog and rain, I'm the only person not praying for rain right now, so I want to get this finished.
Matching the colors has also been one of the most important parts of the restoration process.
Well, we had the original samples,
And I actually, back in the 90s, mixed the original colors from the marquette that Herbert Beyer painted himself. And the statue's been painted twice before, and so we did have the original samples. And my biggest job is to make sure that the colors do match. And we've got that down, so we're ready to go.
Equally important is to plan for future maintenance of the chromatic gate to avoid the amount of rust and lichen that resulted from a lack of maintenance in the past.
We have to have a very stringent maintenance program set up, and who's going to do it, and when, and how, and that should make the paint last for many years.
The restoration people will leave a notebook that tells us exactly how it should be cleaned, washed, waxed, whatever it is. They'll leave paint behind for any graffiti. I'm hoping there's no graffiti, but we have to carefully maintain the integrity of it.
After its restoration, the chromatic gate will shine once again for the visitors and residents of Santa Barbara.
It's been an exciting job. It's been extremely challenging. And we're just looking forward to when it gets unveiled and we see it in the light that Herbert Beyer envisioned.
Don't forget to check out the newly restored chromatic gate across from the Doubletree Hotel next to the Cabrillo softball field. Our creeks and estuaries are vital ecosystems that add a great deal to Santa Barbara's uniqueness and beauty. But aside from clear water, how do we know if they're really healthy? Coming up, Jeff Goodvin shows us a program used by the Creeks Division to monitor the condition of these important natural resources.
In an effort to help keep the Central South Coast creeks and watersheds healthy, the City and County of Santa Barbara co-sponsor an annual checkup. It's called a Rapid Bioassessment Survey.
Bioassessment is using the biota, so bio, life, biology. We're using the organisms that live in the creek to provide an indication of the overall condition of that creek or other type of aquatic water body.
The bioassessment has been tested in the creeks for 13 years. That was even before Measure B was passed and before the Creeks Division existed, and that was a county project, and then the city's been testing it for about 10 years.
Estuaries like Aurora Borough and Mission Lagoon were added in 2011.
Each year we're looking at anywhere from 15 to 20 streams in our study area. And it tells us what the overall condition of that stream is based on the biota, the benthic invertebrate community that inhabits it. The benthic macroinvertebrates are invertebrates. They include insects, snails, mollusks, bivalves, other types of invertebrate organisms. And macro means that they're greater than a half centimeter in size. So there's something we can see with the eye, and there are tons of them living in the creeks.
The Creeks Division has contracted with Ecology Consultants Incorporated to sample and analyze 8 creeks and 6 estuary sites at a cost of $17,000.
The Creeks Division uses bioassessment as part of our overall program to assess the health of the creeks and where we have problems with pollution or other harmful things getting into the creek.
We have streams, up in the mountains or out on the Gaviota Coast, for example, that have a lot less development impacts. Less water pollution, less development in their watershed, that are in relatively good condition, and they have a certain biological community that typically is more diverse, more species of benthic invertebrates, more presence of invertebrates that are known to be sensitive to pollution, all the way down to like Mission Creek here in downtown Santa Barbara, where you have a good proportion of its watershed is covered by urban use as agriculture, so you have impacts.
There are 3 tiers of analysis of water quality monitoring that the Creeks Division conducts. The first tier is water quality sampling, which measures concentration of specific chemicals that are known to harm or benefit aquatic organisms. The second tier, toxicity testing, measures the response of a sensitive laboratory test organism to samples of creek water. The third tier, bioassessment, checks the community of benthic invertebrate organisms that are present in the creek.
And so every year we see different trends. During the early years, we were looking mostly at variability between watersheds. So we see the more pristine watersheds have much higher BMI scores. They're more reflective of a healthy habitat. And we also now see the differences between the upper watershed and the lower watershed. So we can be in one watershed that has a more developed lower section, and it's going to have worse scores than the scores in the upper, more pristine part of the watershed.
The health of study sites is determined using the Index of Biological Integrity, IBI, a system that yields a numeric score and classification such as very poor, poor, bare, good, or excellent.
The IBI is a scoring system. It's on a scale from 0 to 70. So it's a number. It's easy to understand a number. Everybody can look at a number and say, well, if you're between 0 and 70, if you're a 65, that's pretty good, or if you're a 15, that's pretty bad. So that's the reason it's something that can provide anybody with an understanding of the condition of a given creek.
There are several root causes that impact the health and resilience of our creeks. Something as simple as a lack of shade can harm creek organisms, thus affecting other life forms that live in the area.
Years where we have really high rainfall, either overall high rainfall or maybe just like 1 or 2 big storms where we have really high scouring rates in the creeks for even just a few hours, that can really affect the entire community for the coming year. And then we've had the effect of fire has been a major driver in what we see, and that we'll see the scores really drop right the year following a fire in the watershed where the fire took place, but not in a nearby watershed. And what we've seen the last couple of years is we can see those scores climb back up in the 1 to 3 years after the fire has occurred.
The activities of humans also play a role in the health of creeks and watersheds.
The overall amount of development causes so many different things to occur in the creeks, such as increased runoff of nutrients and increased runoff of pesticides, increased runoff of sediment coming off of dirt areas. Compared to a natural watershed that's undeveloped, we have almost no runoff of pollutants and much less runoff of sediments. In a watershed that's not developed, that doesn't have that human influence, the creek can take its own form over the years and might migrate a little bit, and this helps the benthic macroinvertebrate community, whereas in a urban setting the creeks are channelized. Some of them do have a natural bottom, but the creek is not allowed to meander over time, and that really affects the condition of the bottom of the creek and the amount of habitat that's available for particular organisms.
After the field sampling and laboratory analysis are done, the results are presented to the Creeks Advisory Committee for review.
That's been one of the best results of having so many years of BMI results and bioassessment results, and having the bioassessment done on multiple creeks, because we really can see the effect of some of the natural stressors to the benthic macroinvertebrate communities.
Our understanding of local streams and the factors that affect them will undoubtedly improve as the creek's restoration and water quality improvement program efforts continues.
We're interested in protecting and restoring the entire creek and estuarine and ocean ecosystem. So this bioassessment program is a way for us to monitor the health of our streams and estuaries and to determine when something's going wrong and why. We can maybe identify why something's going wrong. If we have noted degradation of a stream, over time the IBI scores keep getting lower, we can look and say, what's going on with the stream? Why is this happening? And it can serve as a point of investigating.
For more information, visit sbcreeks.com. We'll be right back with more Inside Santa Barbara.
Just ignore the letter. Keep the passion. Right now. Action! Just keep moving.
I never knew it could be like this.
Cut!
I can't work like this!
Don't let litter ruin your scene.
The mouse ran.
Research shows children begin learning at birth, so it's never too early to expose your kids to the wonders of reading. The Santa Barbara Public Library has lots of fun and free programs that will help put your child on the path to literacy. For more information, call 564-5603 or visit sbplibrary.org. Remember, love to read, read to love.
Now that warmer weather is here, we check our sprinklers to make sure they're working right and water-wise. Turn on your sprinklers during the day to see how they're working.
Make sure there's no water running onto your driveway or sidewalk. Redirect spray heads to keep the water in your landscaping.
Look for broken sprinklers and make repairs as needed.
Save water and money. Learn how at waterwisesb.org. Let's save together.
Oh, Periscope. Can't see anything.
Sir, the crew is concerned about the amount of disposable bags we have on board.
I will not hear of such things.
Flood torpedo tubes. Flood torpedo tubes.
Fire torpedo!
Fire torpedo! Sir, it's a misfire. Disposable bags are jamming the tube. Captain, we've got to get rid of these bags and start using canvas reusables!
Mister, I will not hear of this talk of treason. All ahead full, right full rudder.
All ahead full, right full rudder! Engineering, what's going on down there?
Sir, we've been sabotaged by disposable bags!
Okay.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Explore new worlds. Grab a bite. Have a blast. Catch the fun. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Welcome back. Processing the wastewater of 100,000 customers, the Elistero Wastewater Treatment Plant can handle a lot. But fats, oils, grease, and methane used to pose some challenges. However, as Jessica Oliveira shows us in our next segment, the addition of a new facility at the plant turns these tough-to-deal-with materials into opportunities.
They used to be the problem children of wastewater treatment, fats, oils, and grease, not so affectionately referred to as fog. They're not supposed to be put down the drain, but some would invariably enter the sewer system and cause problems at Elistero Wastewater Treatment Plant. Since these fog materials are so hard on the wastewater system, they have been picked up from major sources like restaurants for some time.
Every restaurant has what they call a grease interceptor. And so, because you don't want grease building up in the sewer collection system, that's a bad thing. So they're required by law to have one of these things and be able to maintain it.
But whether it came directly from restaurants or from sewer pipes, Elistero had no way of treating the fats, oils, and grease, and as a result would have to truck them away.
All that material went to Bakersfield or somewhere out in the Central Valley, where a lot of that material was applied to fields where they grew produce.
Besides being costly, all those truck trips had a significant impact on the environment.
Marburg was using diesel trucks to haul that material long distances, and it was roughly 17 metric tons of CO2 emissions per day to haul that material.
But now, thanks to some cutting-edge technology, fats, oils, and grease are becoming resources instead of refuse.
The facility, which is located about 100 yards behind me, is a reciprocating engine that runs off of the methane produced by the Elistero Wastewater Treatment Plant.
the plant is already set up to handle, it's compatible with receiving this brown grease or fog material, and the digesters can use that material. It's basically food for the digesters. The bacteria in there are anaerobic. They use this material, and it increases their methane production up to 30%.
Methane, a natural byproduct of the sewage treatment process, also used to pose a challenge at El Estero. Because it's a potent greenhouse gas, it would be flared off or burned. Now, thanks to the new cogeneration system, that methane is converted to electricity and heat.
Well, the cogeneration facility provides for most of the electrical production at El Estero, and can provide all of the heating that it needs for the service the plant.
The cogeneration facility can generate enough electricity to power over 700 homes. Materials are delivered here 7 days a week from over 350 restaurants.
The cogeneration facility was completed without any upfront funding from the city.
It's funded through a power purchase agreement. So we had a third party come in, California Power Partners. They built the plant for us, and we have a contract with them to purchase energy at a fixed rate for 10 years, and that's what actually funds the project.
On top of all of the energy savings, the city will receive about $100,000 in tipping fees for receiving that waste. Well, starting in July, the city utility bill is changing. In our next story, we tell you the reason behind the change and how to read your new bill.
In July, every city trash and water customer will see a new format on the city utility bill. The new bills will provide more precise information about your services, including things like the average gallons of water used per day and the kinds of trash and recycling services you receive. On the trash and recycling portion of your bill makeover, you will see information that lists all the containers you have, the percentage of material your household is recycling, and the cost of your service.
The reason why we're changing the utility bill is to provide customers with much greater clarity in terms of the containers that they're subscribed to. So under the new format, customers will see very clearly every trash container, recycling container, and green waste container that they subscribe to. And under the new contract with Marburg that starts July 1st, virtually green waste and recycling are virtually unlimited for single-family homes. So for those containers, the customers will then see a credit for those containers on their bill.
On the new bill, you will see a line item for each trash, recycling, and green waste container at your house. For example, if you have 2 trash cans at your property, the cost will be $34.74 per month. Or in another example, if you have a 95-gallon trash cart, the cost is $37.99 per month. If you have Marburg-issued carts with wheels, then you must roll them to the curb to pay the lowest rate. If you have a Marburg-issued can with no wheels, Marburg will continue to come onto your property and pick it up at no additional charge. In this example, for recycling, for a 65-gallon cart, you'll see a cost of $4.11. Directly underneath it, you'll see a recycling credit for $4.11. The cost of that container is $0. And in this example, we have a 95-gallon green waste cart, the cost of $6.17. And directly underneath it, you see a green waste credit for $6.17. The cost for this cart is $0. All of your blue recycling bin collection and up to 192 gallons of your green waste collection is free and included with your basic trash service. As we all know, Santa Barbara has properties in hilly areas. If you are currently charged for slope and/or distance service, the new bill format will itemize this charge and show it on a separate line. The second portion of your city utility bill undergoing changes is for water and sewer.
We decided to change the way that this information is presented so that the customer can more easily follow along with how to look at their water use and how the city reads the meter and translates that meter read into an actual dollar value that you are charged. On the front of the bill, you look for all of your vital account information, the number of dwelling units, your base allotment, and to see your water use information in the chart and in the numerical format. On the back, you can see the actual mathematical calculations of how your bill is calculated. So you can see the different tiers and how much is being charged at each tier to get the total for your water service charges.
The water information will now be presented in a format that shows the customer how their usage is actually calculated based on their monthly water meter reading. In addition, there will be a conversion of the 100 cubic feet, or HCF number, to gallons used per day. All this information will be displayed in easy-to-read charts and graphs.
We're also adding a new graph on the back of the bill that shows a customer where they're falling within the tier rate structure.
While the utility bill is changing, the goal is to make it easier to read and understand.
Look for the new bill in your mailbox in July and August. If you're a parent looking for fun and stimulating activities for your kids, you're going to want to watch our next story. In it, Inside Santa Barbara's Chris Bell shows us the abundance of activities available at the public library.
For parents, summer can be a magical time to spend with their kids, but with the dizzying number of camps and sports activities available, it can also be a little overwhelming. That's where your public library comes in. The Santa Barbara Public Library has a variety of programs that you and your child can just drop into to participate. Programming is available for kids of every age, including the very youngest.
Right now we have a grant for a special program called Fabulous Fridays. It's focused on music and movement for babies and toddlers. Singing songs is the building blocks for knowing how words go together. And so even for babies and toddlers, that is the beginning of a lifelong learning process.
The ever-popular story time will also be held throughout the system.
At Central, we actually offer a Wiggly story time. We have preschool story times at all of the branches in the system. There are bilingual story times. There are special Spanish story times called Noches de la Familia.
For elementary school age kids, there's the summer reading program.
Children come sign up, get excited about reading independently or with friends, and come back to the library and get reinforcement with talking to volunteers about what they've read and what they've loved reading, and then they get reading incentives. So there's local donated coupons, there's a treasure chest, things like that.
For older kids, the library has teamed up with Santa Barbara Makerspace to provide activities ranging from robotics and electronics to web development, mobile apps, and computer security.
Makerspace is a place where people can come together and get access to tools they might not have at home, and with other people who have similar skills or different skills, and work together on projects, whatever those projects might be. They might be very technical or they might be artistic.
I brought the kids down because we have all summer, and I really want my kids to learn how to think and how to solve problems.
With the help of Makerspace, the Cassons are planning to create a pedal car and a couple of well-known robots.
My sister had thought of doing a robot R2-D2, and so I decided to go along with that and do a C-3PO. I decided it was too complicated to make it walk, so it's going to be sitting down.
I think it'll be a great family project to pull my husband and myself and the kids into just, getting out there and finding answers to whatever problems arise. So.
Makerspace also offers classes for aspiring computer programmers.
There's a program called Scratch that came out of MIT, and it's used to teach younger kids how to program using visual blocks that plug together, kind of like Legos. Then we have the Python classes, and that is a popular professional programming language used around the world for scientific projects, commercial projects, all different kinds of projects.
So whether it's the educational value, the variety of age groups served, or the flexibility of drop-in schedules, parents have a lot of reasons to take their kids to the Santa Barbara Public Library this summer. And if that's not enough, there's one other very compelling reason.
All programming at the library is free. And the library is something different for everybody. So we want to help you find what you're looking for.
For more information about the library's programs, visit sbplibrary.org or call 564-5603. Well, that does it for this episode of Inside Santa Barbara. If you have questions or comments about the show, give us a call at 564-5311. You can also watch the show online at citytv18.com. I'm your host, Becky Davis, and remember to get involved inside Santa Barbara.